Welcome back to the Booktroverts podcast. I'm McKayla.
I'm Meg.
In today's episode, we are deep diving Spark of the Everflame. It is book 1 in the Kindred's Curse series by Penn Cole. It is a very buzzy series right now. There's 3 books out with the 4th one coming sometime this year. But this is book 1 that we're going to be talking about, and we are doing like a full deep dive. Spoilers, anything that happens in the book is going to be mentioned and said. So if you don't want to be spoiled, pause this episode, read the book, and then come back. And then we have not read the rest of the series, so we're not pulling in anything else from any other books, just book 1. So yeah, that's the episode. And let's jump in with our ratings. So Meg, what did you rate the book?
I did a 3.75. I thought it was good. There was a lot that kept me interested in wanting to continue the rest of the series. So for me, that always puts it higher than anything else. And I think it sets up for a good opportunity for the rest of the series. So I'm really curious to see how the second and third one are. But there were just some things that kind of were a little annoying. So I think we'll probably talk about them when we get through into more of the chapters. But that's kind of my overall thoughts. What about you?
I also did a 3.75. So I love when we're just like on the same page with our ratings, which we've been really good about this year. I think we have very similar ratings for all the books we've done. So that's good. There was no realm where this was close to a 5-star book for me, but I do think the series could be a 5-star series.
I'm with you.
I think it has really high potential. I actually really love the concept of the book and the series. It's just this, again, I had to like pull out and be like, okay, this is a 4-book series. So she needs to establish a lot of things in this first book. We're getting just a little snippet of what the overall plot and turmoil is going to be amongst the characters and in the world. So she can't give it to us all. So I had to like refocus that in my mind. This is just getting you situated with what's going on. How do all these realms work together? So it definitely was a little bit slower. I really felt like it reminded me of ACOTAR, like ACOTAR book 1, actual A Court of Thorns and Roses, where the series overall is like unbelievable. One of my favorite series. That book, not one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
And it just, when I recommend that book to people, I always say like the first few chapters are slow and you're like, I don't want to keep going. This makes no sense. But I'm like, once you push over that, the series is so good. And I really feel like we could be in the same situation where this is a 3.75, but book 2 could be like A Court of Mist and Fury, and it's like a 6-star book.
Yeah, I'm with you. And this one was also interesting too. And I think when I had checked, the page count goes up for the second and third book too. So I don't know why the author chose that, and I'm totally interested to see, obviously because we haven't read it. I'm really curious to see how the rest of the series goes, and do you get more and build on the story. And granted, this realm that we're in, the universe they're in, has a decent amount of places that we have not gotten to that were mentioned in the first book, but kind of just you're gonna need this at some point, and I think that's probably where it goes. So it's a really good setup book, like you said. For ACOTAR was literally a setup book for the rest of the series, and it kind of gave you the backstory and heavy information, and then kind of just went for it in the rest of the series. So I'm hoping this one does the same.
And I liked the writing style, so I feel like that is also what's like making me excited to want to keep going. But there definitely were parts where I was like, okay, this is kind of slow. How is this going to relate? Or I felt like they were restating a lot of things. Where I was like, okay, I got it, but they must really become important later in the series, and she's really trying to drive it home. So I just had to kind of like keep reminding myself, like, this is book 1 of a 4-book series. She needs to set everything up, and we can't have like these big, I mean, there were bigger moments, but we can't have these like big crazy moments in book 1, because like where's the story gonna go? So
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's why I rated it. But I definitely feel like the series has very high potential.
Yeah, and I will say for me, I think why I was leaning more towards the 3.75 too was when a book sets up so well that you are so excited to read the next one and you want to find out more, that for me already puts it at a higher level. Not at a 5. I mean, granted, there have been some that I've put at 5s for being a first out of a series, but this one definitely was gave me a little taste of what was going to happen in the realms in the world, and I just want to know more, and I want to get into the characters, because we are only surface level on these characters. And I like that. It was slow at times, but we're getting there.
Yeah, there were definitely stretches of the book when you're reading and you're like, oh, I don't want to put this down. But then there were other points where you're like, okay, like, this is slow. And as you alluded to, there were some moments where I was just getting really frustrated, and it was reminding me of thoughts I had reading Rebel Witch, which we'll get to when we get to that part of the book. But so there were little things that were like just like annoying and I couldn't look past, but I think a solid start. And I understand why people really rave about the series. So because I do think it's going to have a really cool arc to the story. Do I know where the story's going? Absolutely not.
No.
Like
normally
at this
you can
point
think
recording
of some stuff.
Yeah, at this point recording, I don't even have thoughts on what's going to happen in book 2, but maybe as we talk things will come up. But
yeah,
I have no thoughts.
I feel like
I'm
that's how
empty
we
up
started
here.
off. Yeah, we start off with we have nothing, and then 20 minutes later, actually, let's get into it. So I'm hoping that's the case.
Yeah, and for the episode today, Meg took much better notes than I did, so she's going to moderate us through the chapters. So we like broke it up into different sections, and we'll go through like more in depth, similar to how we did the Onyx Storm deep dives. If you listen to those, so Meg, I will hand you the microphone.
All right. So, and honestly, my notes were really just so I didn't forget things when we go to the second book. So
they were very organized.
I'll take it. I will take it because normally I am not this organized. All right. So the first section that we have, we kind of did the chapters just 1 through 6. And this is really a heavy information overload, basically, in detail that you get that sets you up for the rest of the book. And I'm assuming would be the rest of the series too, because there is some stuff that we kind of know about, but I think we'll get touched upon, like you said, is mentioned 3 or 4 times. And it must be super important. But in here, the key things that happen is Diem's mom, or Auralie? Is that how you would say it? I think it is.
Let's go with that.
We're going to go with it. All right. So Auralie, if I'm saying this wrong, apologies. But her mom is the healer for the king, and she ends up going missing. So we kind of get introduced to people, and then all of a sudden someone's just pieced out, as well as this kind of just pisses off Diem, which we find that she has a super temper and has, pretty much goes 0 to 100 real quick, and it can escalate based on the conversation that's going on. So that's really the overall thing of this. So I'm curious on your thoughts for the first section and anything that stood out to you that was interesting or shocking.
I guess I was kind of confused, like how the book opened, because it was focusing on like the moon and the foraging day, and it was like, what is going on? Instantly you were thrown into just fantasy world building, which is not always my favorite approach, because I just get super overwhelmed and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Yeah. So I was like a little confused where we were going. Then once she started, I think, is she with Henri in the beginning? Is she walking with him? She's walking with someone.
I think it's someone.
Maybe one of the other healers. Mm-hmm. And they're like talking about the moon and all that. And it was like, I don't know what's going on. And then once she started going through the alleyway, that's when I was like, okay, I can follow this train of thought here. And that's when she sees her mom, and her mom is walking with who we later find out is Luther. I thought it was so interesting that she was not able to recognize the prince, but I mean, she never was allowed to go to that area. Yeah. I just felt like he is, in the beginning of the book, or actually more through like the entire book, he's being talked about as like he's going to become the next king. Mm-hmm. So I figured he would have a face that all the people would know, even if they like literally lived under a rock like she did. Like, she would have been able to point him out. So that to me just felt a little bit weird, a little bit of a plot, I guess not a plot hole, but like just a miss on the plot. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my first question is that older woman, she sees her mom talking to him, and she's eavesdropping on her mom, and she's picking up some things that are raising some flags for her.
Yeah.
And an old woman stops her and starts like giving some prophecy shit, like just weird, like, you are daughter of the forgotten, or whatever the hell she was saying, and basically being like alluding, like, or asking her like, who's your father? This is when we find out that the dad she lives with is not her biological dad. And I was like, who is this old woman? And she never pops up again.
Okay. I literally have it in my notes of what is the value of this person, but she specifically says to DM remember me when next time when you see me, remember that I didn't go into your brain and make you do whatever I wanted you to do. So there's some reason that she's going to come back, but literally had to put it in my notes because I go, if this is a hint, I need it written down, because watch it come back in not chapter 3, in the third book of the series.
Yeah.
And I started questioning who this person is, and it's ironically from chapter 1. You know what I mean? So I have no idea, but it was interesting.
I definitely think she's going to come back.
Yeah.
But we didn't get any other context clues of like who she could be.
Nope.
In this book. She was giving me villain vibes.
Oh, 100%.
Like she's going to be a bad person.
And she just creepily came out of the alley and then just
and she knew her name. It was creepy.
Yeah.
So just flagging that. My second thing was the mama scene with Luther, and then next thing you know, she disappears.
Yeah.
We don't know. We find out at the end of the book the mom is alive. She has just gone into hiding somewhere. I have no clue where that location is.
Yeah.
3 people know of her, where she is. I feel like one of them has to be Prince Luther.
Yeah.
We don't get confirmation. We don't know anyone who like she just says 3 people know. We don't know who the 3 people are.
Right.
I feel like it has to be him, because if she was standing close enough to them where she was eavesdropping on their conversation, she talks to that woman for what? Maybe a 5-minute conversation.
Right.
We've seen her. Like, DM is a fast girl. She's cunning. She's like trained, but like her parents were both in the army. And she loses her mom that easily.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking there must have been some back alley secret area. I don't know. Did she go through that hole that they used to get to the palace and then Luther took her from there? I don't know. I just feel like he definitely aided in that.
I'm with you, because when we got that information in the epilogue, and we can go over it more of questioning at the end, but when we got that, I said he has to know something, because he kind of, even at the end when, DM's recovering in the palace, he had even said something along the lines of, I was waiting how long you would wait to ask about your mother. And he definitely has information. We haven't had enough time with him because it's the first book. And that's going to be interesting of what we get from him in the second one. So he has to, and what he hasn't told DM anything, obviously, because we don't get it from her point of view in this book. But yeah, it was too suspicious that all of a sudden they both disappear. It's not as if one of them just pieced out. It was literally, she turns away, is talking to the old woman, and then no one's around anymore. She can't find them. Totally were doing some secret tunnel shit to get out of there and whatever she was trying to do. And it was just, I don't know, it was interesting. I'm curious how that's going to play into hopefully the next book. We'll get some more information.
Yeah. And then also in these first 6 chapters, I hope I have this in the order. This is when she has to go with Mora to help the children of the descended.
Yes. Yeah, that's when
because they were like doing something
magic?
And like the house like fell on them, but kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it turns out DM's mother forbade her from ever going to Lumnos, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
Where the palace is. She was not allowed to go. It was like right there, suspicious. Why are you not allowed to go to the palace, but your mother is, and all the other healers at the unit are?
Mm-hmm.
She goes, and this honestly, first sign of foreshadowing that she is not mortal is when Lily, Princess Lily, is hurt. She's trying to help her. And Luther jumps in. This is when she realizes, oh, this is who I've been looking for 6 months.
Yeah.
She's about to set the bone. And Luther was like, oh, should I do that for you? And she's like, no. And, she doesn't let anyone talk. Like, she doesn't ever act without having all the information. No. And she just keeps being like, no, I can do it. And she sets the bone. No problem. And then she realizes Lily's like bleeding out. She had like something piercing through her back. And she puts her hand to it. And she says like, she's like chanting in her head to like the gods, like save her, whatever. Ends up healing her to the point where there's absolutely no mark of this wound, that like a deathly wound. And this is where I just have to say, like, the thing I said in Rebel Witch in that deep dive where I said, like, it annoys me when characters have this background or they're in this like position in a job where they should have an intelligence level of like a certain amount, and then they just act so dumb. And it's just like, as a healer, you know, this is impossible for that to have happened. And then even if she like had never worked with the Descended before and they do have magic that can heal themselves, but then it's like you're talking to Mora and she's like, yeah, like I always need them to come and set the bone. Even for the child, like she was like, I had the child and I couldn't even do it. Like they had, and like no warning bells go off for her. She's just like, oh, Lily must be special. And it's just like, that shit pisses me off because it's just like, I don't care if you want to live in the land of delusion, but like, could we write a line where she contemplates for 3 seconds? Oh, do I have magic? But it's like the thought never crosses her mind. And then later at the end of the book, when Luther is basically telling her, hey, yeah, you're not mortal, she's so caught off guard.
I don't know how she was. So to add on to the fact that she was able to literally put the bones back in place, in the beginning, I forget which chapter it was or when it happens, but they specifically say that mortals have brown eyes, and it was part of the forging spell, and not the the reason why they're different, I guess. Than
it happens at 3% into the book. I highlighted that.
Okay. Wow, 3%. That was real quick. So she's obviously, because we find out that she has not brown eyes, and I think that they're
like
gray?
Pale.
Yeah. I don't know why I was picturing no actual color and just, nothing. I don't know.
Just all white.
The drawing that I had in my mind of what was going on, not really the case. But what was interesting, too, is she keeps getting told that, oh, the reason why you have this is, you have an illness and you have to take the flame root powder and all that jazz. But you think that with that information and the fact that she's been a healer for God knows how long, her mother literally has been a healer for however long, like you said, you think the intelligence level would be pretty high, that she would be able to understand of maybe there is something different and I don't even know who my father is. It's not even like it's a hidden fact that she has a different dad. It is fully known from the beginning, 100%. It's, you know what I mean? It's not like she was finding out her lineage with us. It was known ahead of time. So I'm with you. The common sense thing there was just not there for her, and I was really hoping for more. And it continues throughout the whole book. Like there's multiple instances of her being able to do stuff that she shouldn't, and then the only thing she relies on is the fact that they can't be cut with like a knife, but she's able to. And so I think like she just is clinging to that, but it's like, why do you have to have this powder that no one else has to? This powder that you've never seen anyone else use, you don't have it in stock, like your mother,
you don't know how to make it.
Yeah, it definitely seemed very much I'm going to act a little bit naive with things and just kind of go with the flow, is really how it felt like DM was going in this whole book. I mean, there are parts that she does show her intelligence, but it's not as often as I expect. I expected the whole thing for her to have this information, or at least learn it and figure it out quickly, or be shocked of like, oh yeah, let me try to do it myself, or I don't know. It was just weirdly placed information to be.
I will say though, like to your point, she does show intelligence in other areas. Like when we get to the end where she is with the Guardians and she's trying to like figure, like she's able to piece stuff together pretty quickly with what's going on with them. So in like some areas I'm like, yes girl, like you picked up on it. And then in these areas I'm like, what? And you're a healer, like shouldn't you know that? So that was just like a little frustrating, but I don't know. I guess we need it for the plot. I don't really know, but it definitely is how, like, if Luther, I mean, I think he knew about her ahead of time.
I think so.
I will tell you, I like low-key thought maybe he was her dad. Only because they say that, like, you can't tell if they're 25 or if they're 250 because they don't age.
That's fair.
And he's always walking around with her mom.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe he's the dad, and that's why, like, the mom has, like, that bargain because, like, oh, this is your child. He didn't want to kill his own child. I was like, maybe.
Oh my god.
But then, like,
I thought it was the king. I thought her dad was the king because I said, oh, this is weird if they're the love interest and it's her fucking brother. Like, this is what's going on in my head. It was just...
Well, then, yeah. Well, then I was like, wait, when we find out from, I think it's Lily, she was like, yeah, he went looking for you. I was like, okay, clearly he's going to be the love interest, so he's not going to be trying to, like, this is going to be the most disgusting sentence that comes out of my mouth. Like, he's not going to be trying to, like, get with his daughter. So he can't be the dad. But I did think in the beginning, like, maybe he is her father. I'm assuming her father is a descendant.
So I had it in my notes is literally as soon as it was saying that mortals shouldn't be able to put descended bones back together, whatever it was, I go, her father has to be a descendant, and we're getting these snippets of information that are so obvious of seeing the fact that she has to take the flame root and this, and the fact that light's glowing out of her friggin' hands, and that she has that voice inside her head. I go, okay,
the voice
what
she's
the
just like,
hell?
She notices when the voice isn't with her. She's like, oh, this is a great time for the voice not to be with me. But I'm like, you don't question why you hear voices?
I literally was questioning the same thing. I go, I would start questioning things.
I'd be like, why was I not allowed to go to the palace? Why was I not allowed to go to the city that the palace is in? Why do I know nothing about descendants? Like, she knows very little. She knew nothing about the youth and how the youth can actually be hurt by the knives. I'd be like, why does everyone else know this information? I don't. Like, why was that all kept from me as a healer? Like, the fact that at a certain age they start to develop their magic, and oh, was it the same age where you started having those weird illnesses and had to start taking your powder?
Right.
Like, there's just certain things where I was like, oh my god, get it together.
Yeah, and the fact too
be
that
smarter
your mother,
than this.
Right, and her mother literally has forbidden any conversations, any abilities to do that stuff and go there, like you said. And it's just, I would start to question, what is my mother hiding from me? And on top of it, the fact that she has went missing, I think this is where she starts questioning of, okay, there has to be something that she hid from me and I want to find out more. So I think that's what probably prompts her to start finding things out, is her mom going missing. And I'm still confused about that whole reason of, did her mom want her to find things out while she was gone? Or was her mom just hoping that she'd be totally okay in her world with Henri and not knowing anything and just doing her day-to-day job as a healer? You know what I mean? I'm hoping we find out more because I was a little confused on that too.
I think in book 2, we need it. Like, we need it for the story. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's all we had. So I guess we can jump into the Fortos trip. I think I'm saying that right. Is chapters 7 through 12. So this is McKayla's getting ready. I knew this was gonna happen.
Let me hydrate.
Hydrate before you dehydrate. Let's go. This is the part where Henri and Diem go to Fortos. I cannot pronounce anything, and basically just. There's a lot that goes on here that I think McKayla's been waiting to talk about for a while. So I'm going to sit back and say, what do you have on this topic that you wanted to talk about?
Let's talk about Henri. This man, he did nothing. The first sentence we hear, Henri. Instantly hated him. He is Tamlin.
Yes.
They try and paint him, they're childhood friends. No, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, which, thank God, that was confirmed later through the book. He irritates the shit out of me because she's like, okay, my mom's been missing for 6 months. Immediately it's just talking about, like, they were kind of dating loosely, I will say that word. They hooked up.
Yeah, a decent amount.
It was a friends with benefits. Okay, Henri, let's just point it out what it is. There's not much going on for you guys in that area. You're just there, and he didn't know his spot. And then he's like kind of complaining, like, oh yeah, because they go on this trip together. She has to like make all these arrangements so that she can go on this trip with him. They hook up on the trip, and he, first thing out of his mouth is like, oh, I've really missed this for the last 6 months. bitch, what? Her mom is fucking missing. And like, this is what comes out of your mouth?
And still no information about where the mother is. It's not as if they had
information.
a funeral or whatever you know what I mean? It literally has been as if it's just
nothing.
She'll come back at some point. That's literally how they keep acting.
And it seems like she's the only one. Like, I like Teller as her brother. I will say, I really like his character.
Yeah.
It didn't even feel like he was really helping. This guy definitely was not helping. Henri? And then the first thing, oh, I'm really glad we could do that. Excuse me?
Oh my God. He also basically
so
had
much.
said it because she gave him the contraceptive liquid, whatever it was.
God.
And he almost he didn't even want to take it. He's like, oh, if the gods want it to be this way. And she's, I don't want to be a mother yet. Like, in her mind, you already were starting to see that she didn't. I'm sorry, your face is killing me. She doesn't want to be that yet. She doesn't want to be tied down. She doesn't need the ball and chain. She needs to be free. Let her wings and go fly. First sign of annoyance there, but I would digress.
He's Tamlin. He's the smallest man who ever fucking lived. That's what that song is about.
Yes.
I'm so passionate. Like, honestly, he really, in the grand scheme of this book, doesn't do much.
Not even anything bad towards Diem. It's not even like there was anything there.
He is Dane Ato status for me in this book. I fucking hate this man. There better be a scene where he gets killed in one of these books. And it will be the greatest chapter I read. I hate him. That contraceptive thing, I had to block it out because it set me over the edge.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just not going to take... Okay, then, like, we're just not going to have sex.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I was like, you are... I hate men like that.
It was as if choosing
if it's meant
your
to be,
passion.
it's meant to be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is your body going to go through that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it sent me over the edge. And then it just continues when she sees the tattoo. He's like, oh, this is for the old gods. And she's like, you can be executed for that tattoo.
Yeah.
Then, like, again, loosely dating is what I will say. Friends with benefits.
100%.
Then he, like, kind of, like, starts going into this speech. And I literally texted you, like, is he trying to propose to her? Or is he trying to ask her to be his official girlfriend? It was very unclear. But
yeah,
thank God our girl... These are the moments where she was intelligent. She was just like, yeah, that was really great. But, like, I got kind of a lot going on. Like, I don't got time for this. And I was like, thank you so much. And honestly, I was just really glad that throughout the book, I continued to be proven right with him because frickin' lied to her about the tattoo. He's, like, part of a whole rebel group, aka it felt like a cult, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
And then he, like, literally makes a joke about that. Then it's like, she joins. And then he's like teasing her, like, oh, you have to go do like a blood ritual now. And I'm like, what? And then he's like not even giving her all this information.
Yeah.
I hate him so much.
Yeah. And he also was just, like we said, she was very smart in this moment of, you know, fine, if you don't want to take it, then we're not doing this. And I'm just going to go about my merry way. Can we just talk about the fact that you guys have not been together for 6 months because she's been through this grieving, weird process where it's not like they have her mom's body to identify that something had happened. It's all a secret. He doesn't even seem to be super concerned, which I just want to say right now, in hindsight, when we get the epilogue of the 3 people knowing, I think he's the 3rd person that knows where she is. Just saying. Because he does not really show anything that, you know, I don't want to say not feel bad, because he definitely wants to be there for Diem, but it's not as if he is, you know, going through it how he did when his, I forget which parent, I think his mother had died. You know what I mean? It wasn't the same thing for him. It was kind of just okay, well, let's move on, and we need to go about our way. And this is also where we get a huge piece from Henri specifically, and it happens again down the line. And to your point about the proposal or the girlfriend proposal, whatever it was, he really believes that she is just going to be the stay-at-home mom and not work, and that's her right. And my thing is as a woman, I will say no one is ever going to tell me that. And I know for sure Patrick would never say that to me. He's always saying, you do you, and you figure out what you want to do, and that's totally cool. But on top of it, too, is just expecting that you guys haven't even gotten to the dating stage. Like you said, they've just been friends with benefits, and you're just claiming that this is what she's going to do. Have you even talked to her about it? You haven't even talked to her for 6 months, pretty much. It's been super awkward. How do you just jump into that without any information? The whole piece was so frustrating, and just immediately said,
So
I need to know more
frustrating.
about him because there's something here. He can't just be this one and done nonsense. There had to be layers, which obviously there are, but
Yeah. And I will say, if you are someone, like, that's what you want, like,
good for you.
I
Yeah.
love that for you.
Yeah.
But it should be up to you. It should not be up to a man. I'm just saying
100%.
that. Like, that's the, like, if you want to do it, cool. Like, I fully support you. If you don't want to do
Yeah.
it, cool. Support you in that too. But, like,
Yeah.
do not let someone else tell you what you're going to do. But what sent me over the edge is, like, they've been friends since they were children. So he
Yeah.
knows this is your best friend. You should know her personality. You should
Mm-hmm.
know how she would react. And, I mean, we're what, couple 7-10 chapters in at this point, and like I know that she wouldn't want this.
The emotional intelligence is not there. He's not reading any of these
No.
signs. He's not understanding what's going on. There's nothing. There's nothing
No.
at all. It oblivious.
And then I will say later on in the book, her dad also up there with him.
Yeah.
Like just these toxic men. He's like, just go marry him. He'll take care of you. She doesn't want someone to take care of her. She
No.
wants to be independent. Like, are
Yeah.
you not picking? It just like, it sent me over the edge. I hate this man. And then it's like, he's trying to act like, oh, he's the good guy. Oh, I'm the childhood friend to love her. As he's lying to her, putting her in very dangerous situations, not giving her all the information.
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
him. I hate him so much.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait until we have a Prince Luther versus Henri showdown.
I'm here for it.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm already ready. When that happens, I'm going to be calling you. And it's going to be a celebration.
Yeah.
For sure.
I honestly, if he got killed off in this book, I would have been happy.
Yeah, I think it would have been fine.
I don't like him.
No,
They're going to keep him because they're going to have like that weird tension where like we're going to have to make like a little bit of a love triangle situation.
Yeah.
I think is where we're going to go. But I hate him. And the fact that I was only this far in. I think I was 30-something% of the way through the book. I literally had to make a TikTok ranting about it. And I texted you, I hate him so much because I was.
Yeah.
That's how quickly he made that impression on me.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't as if he was a good friend or good friends with benefits. There literally was never a moment where you said, oh, man, I can feel for this guy right now. It was totally discussed pretty quickly. There was nothing there.
Yeah. And I will say, a book that does it well is Hunger Games in the sense of, oh my God, what the hell is his name? Gale.
Yeah.
Liam Hemsworth's character. Like, they're childhood friends, and they kind of have, like, a little bit of a romance aspect, but, like, they don't end up, spoiler alert, she ends up with PETA. But the way that their friendship is described, like, yes, they are really good friends, and there are a couple things he does that were like, she wouldn't want that, but you also can tell that the friendship and the bond between them is respected enough where she feels comfortable to speak openly with him. Where in this, she didn't even trust him enough to be transparent with him, because when they are in Fortos and they go to that shop and she's trying to get the supplies, she sees the flame root sitting in the corner. It's under like lock and key, and we find out that you need all the crowns to sign off for you to be able to get this potion. So the other question is like, how the hell does her mom have just bottles of this that now she's probably regretting, oh shit, I threw that all in the ocean.
Yeah.
But so then that lady like gets mad at her because she starts asking questions, and she's like, keep it moving. He asks her like, what's going on, and she said, oh, have you ever like delivered this potion? And he's like, no, but I can ask around. And she's like, no, and doesn't tell him what's going on. And I'm like, sign one, that she likes him, but it's surface level. They don't have a deep bond at all.
Yeah, I think I had written pretty closely in here that it definitely seemed, I don't want to say that they were bored and that's why they were the friends with benefits, but it definitely felt as if when they were kids they had that bond, and if they stayed that way they probably would have been fine. They probably actually would have gotten married. But with how they both were hardened in different ways and we obviously find out more about what Henri had witnessed. And I think they go about in this section that he tells her about the fact that he saw a descendant kill an innocent boy, and the fact that also Diem's mother is missing. I think a lot of that has shaped them into different people, and their paths just aren't going to stay together. It's just they are going to split, away from each other. And I think that's fine, but it's as if he's trying to keep something from the past stay present, and it's just not there. It needs to stay in the past. It's different values, different things.
Yeah. As a friendship, it's fine because, like, you know, you have history, you live near each other, you're from the same area. But in a romantic relationship, it's fully a romantic relationship of convenience for the both of them.
100%.
I think he actually has feelings for her.
I think so too.
She is just like, well, like I said earlier, he's there. He's around her age. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of other options. If she could get somewhere else, she would pick someone else.
Yeah, agreed. And the other thing too that happens in the section that I don't even think she really tells him about too much, is the voice in her head ends up destroying that wolf. And she had tried to tell him, oh my God, I don't know what happened. It was there one moment and then gone the next. And he goes, oh no, it disappeared. But she never tells him about the voice in her head. He knows about the flame root that she takes, because I think that was the only secret that she had told him as a kid, basically, and it just stuck. But that's another sign that she isn't telling him things. And you can tell that there is that, I don't know what he would use with this information if he was to find out that I have voices in my head. And the fact that if I don't take the flame root, they become stronger of voices. It's not just this dull thing in the background. So that was another interesting thing that she wasn't telling him either.
Yeah. And the fact it goes along with that, and it goes back to the foreshadowing of her not being mortal, is when she like goes off into the woods, and then there's that wolf.
Yeah.
And she thinks the wolf's about to attack her. She does something, and all of a sudden the wolf just disappears.
Yeah.
And she's like convincing herself that she hallucinated it. Right. She's telling him like, oh, I stopped taking my powder, I'm having hallucinations. He was like, that wolf was fully there. But then he never comments that like he saw it disappear. Yeah. And she doesn't tell him like, oh, well, it disappeared. And so that's another point of like them not having open communication with each other of like what's actually going on. But then also just like foreshadowing, like, how do you think it disappeared? If he saw it, you saw it, and it was gone, how do you think that happened?
And also the fact, and kind of I don't want to say dumbness on them, but neither of that, even Henri wasn't saying anything of, literally was there and then it was gone. All he says was, oh, it must have ran away. But it wasn't as if he said, oh yeah, I don't know what could have happened. We don't even hear it anymore. It wasn't as if it was making any noises. There was no questioning. It was just all right, come back to bed. Let's go. That's it. Yep. I'm done. It was interesting.
Yeah. And then also in this like photo section is when she runs into Vance. So they were at that pub or whatever. And this is when she finds out the tattoo was actually something completely different.
Yeah.
And so I have two thoughts / questions on this part, more so like overall guardians. So one, multiple times when she's interacting with Vance, she comments that he looks really familiar, and she can't pinpoint it.
Yes.
And so I'm like, what's the connection there? So is he potential baby daddy? Or does he have some connection with her mom, and like she maybe saw her mom at a young age interacting with him, like in like not a romantic way, but
good question.
But she multiple times says he looks familiar.
Yeah.
So we don't know his backstory, except I think he was in the army with her parents. I don't know if we don't know if they're like friends or anything. He just says like they were in the army.
Yeah.
The other thing is, when they talk about the guardians, they said that the leader is a woman. And I don't know, like based off the epilogue, if I still feel this way, but through the whole book, I was like, oh, is her mom the leader? And because they said that the leader is gone on a mission in some area, so they're like, oh, you're gonna have to talk to the father because she's gone. So I was like, oh, that would line up with the mom being gone. But then when like she ends up being somewhere else, I'm like, oh, maybe she's not, but I don't know. Then that could be the connection of like why he looks familiar, because maybe they were doing guardian stuff. she saw the mom with him. I don't know.
I am on the same path as you, because literally was starting to question of her being missing at the beginning. I said, oh, I wonder if the king has her under, as a prisoner or something. Because I was kind of questioning that, especially because with Luther having the connection, I didn't understand what was going on there. But yeah, I thought the same exact thing, that her mother was actually the leader of this. And it also gets more interesting too, and I think it's in the next section, but Henri has mentioned that Auralie specifically tells him to intimately know your enemy. That way you know how to take them down. And I think that's a huge part of why I started thinking that it was Auralie, because she specifically is working very close to the crown. I mean, she literally has to be there on every time they call her, or she's going to be executed. Her son's not going to be able to go to that fancy school anymore. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm still leaning that way, but I don't know if it's trying to be that obvious. You know what I mean? Because that would be super, maybe, I don't want to say super obvious, but super expected in that way. And maybe it's some random person we don't know. But yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. I really thought that. And that's why I thought Henri was the third person that knew where she was, because it's someone that he must have been super close with.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it does feel kind of obvious, though, because she's really the only other woman that we really know, unless it's something so crazy, like it's Mora or something.
That would be an interesting
Which, like,
one.
she kind of annoys me.
And everything. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, because you just reminded me when you said, like, the terms of the mother's bargain, I guess, with Luther, he's the one who negotiated it.
Mm-hmm.
She has to show for any healing that the palace needs, but any other duties or things that they need. What does that include?
I have no idea, but I was trying to figure it out. And the only thing I can think of is we find out more about Luther throughout the rest of the book, that he was willing to help out the mortals. I think more than his uncle was, the king. And I question if they were working some peace deal to try to keep the rebels at bay. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I was trying to figure out something of maybe not.
Yeah. Well, like her dad is doing that.
Yeah.
The dad, because we find out at the end that he's been kind of employed by the crown, I'm going to call them.
Yeah.
To keep the peace amongst the people. So I don't know, I feel like hers has to be different. Also, when you think about it, your thought of the king being Diem's dad actually could be a little bit more legit of a theory when you think about, like, really what is the mother getting out of being the healer. Like, yeah, Teller gets to go to that school, cool, and there really was nothing else, unless part of the deal is she gets the flame root and he knows.
Maybe it could be that. I mean, basically you have to give up your, I don't want to say give up your life, because she still seems to have a life outside of being a healer, but in the sense of, if we need you, we're calling on you and you have to be there immediately. There's no,
like she can't move somewhere else.
Right. Exactly. So I do question if that's, like you said, maybe the flame root is the thing of, we need to keep her identity secret because we can't have this being found out.
Yeah, because I just feel like Teller being able to go to that school, like, yeah, of course she would want her son to do that, but I don't think enough to, like, literally sign her life away, because they said, like, if you go against any of this, you're being killed. Yeah,
there's definitely something to do with Diem there. That is the reason, because even to the fact that Diem doesn't know anything about the palace or anything about that, and she's been super shielded and all of that, is I think it's for a purpose. Obviously we find out more about her, with the voice and everything, but yeah, I'm questioning what the mother's actual terms were, because Luther also knows this. He was the one who
did the deal. Mm-hmm.
So there has to be something.
Yeah. And sorry, I'm going to jump ahead with, like, a couple things that come in towards the end, but because now I'm, like, on this train of, because I genuinely did not think the king was her biological dad, but now talking about that bargain, and at the end when her and Luther are finally talking, he tells her, this is when we first find out that the king is not his father. That's his uncle, but he got raised under the king brought him under his wing, all that jazz. And because if the king was her dad and you were operating under the impression that Luther was his son, then it's like weird to be like, okay, they're not gonna be love interests because they're siblings.
Right.
But by saying like, no, that's my uncle, I mean, they're cousins. But
yeah,
I guess we can look past that. They're not siblings. So that's one. And then spoiler, which we said they're going to be spoilers, but spoiler for the ending, her becoming the queen.
Yeah.
Now, they do say that the power does not go like based off like your lineage. It's not going to like pass to your child.
Yeah.
It's whoever they choose, but it could be a sign that it chose her and she is the child.
I know. And then the other thing I was thinking, to throw another wrench in my idea of the king being her father, is at the end, Auralie talks about the fact that she went back to her home and, you know, is kind of questioning, oh, is someone down there, but still sees the pool of blood and whatever, and realizes, oh no, he's still dead, we're okay. This is where I started to question, was that riff in the family with the crown, was it also because Auralie was sleeping with someone else in the group? And it might not be an immediate family member. It could have been someone who rightfully should have the position. And that's where, you know, Diem comes in and is the rightful, I guess, heir to the crown in a way because of how powerful she is. I think that you know what I mean? So I don't know. There's so many unknowns with that part that...
Yeah. And when the king's dying, he like grabs her and has that whole speech with her. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew you were going to come for me, all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea.
Just, no clue. It's things that could back up that theory. Mm-hmm. But who knows? It could be a completely random person we haven't met yet.
Yeah, exactly. No idea.
I guess my last point I had in here, which I think I may have said it, but like, we never got any, this is like, throughout the rest of the book, we never got like a closure on how her mom actually ended up with all that flame root and all those bottles. Like, she had lots of bottles of it.
Yeah, there was a lot. And the fact that she threw out that much, well, I guess threw it into the ocean, but still, it wasn't as if it was just one thing and said, here you go. It's as if she gave her enough just in case if she wasn't around for a while. It's kind of how I took it too. Of I don't know if I'm coming back. Here you go. Here's a lot.
Yeah, and she like stopped kind of trying to figure out how her mom ended up with it. So it was just like we didn't get closure on that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I had though for that section.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we can move into the next little bit. So what we're calling the ramp up to the Guardians is kind of when Diem takes Auralie's spot at the palace. So this is chapters 13 through 16 because pretty much it quickly switches to where she's in the Guardians, like very quickly. This is when I think things started going faster, was okay, now we've got all that backstory and we jump in. But we have a lot here of Diem understanding what Auralie's position was at the palace and wanting to jump in. And I think specifically they also say that if she doesn't fulfill, like we were saying, Teller wouldn't be able to go to the school, and Diem wants the best for her brother pretty much at the end of the day. She's not going to risk him not being able to go to the school because he might have a future and be able to go to, I can't even remember if it's Sportos or whatever. There was another area that the gifted go to basically, and because he's immortal he wouldn't have as many chances to go, but if he came from this school he might be good. So that's kind of when we find out more here. And then we also get the, as I was saying, the ramp up is I would say the incident that really sets her over the edge and says, okay, I'm joining the Guardians with Henri and I'm going to do this because this is ridiculous. So that was kind of the overview. Was there anything specific? Because I had a couple of things that were interesting.
Well, I thought it was cool, I guess. I don't know. That's not the right word. But like, I liked how the woman who kind of helped her escape in the beginning was the woman that she ended up trying to protect that child. Unfortunately, they both passed away. But the only thing I really flagged in here was, why is Luther so concerned about the conditions in the mortal area? Like, what is his game here? And this is when I started thinking, like, maybe he is a half mortal, half descended, and that's why he, like, because maybe he feels he has like a foot in both worlds, and that's why he's caring. I don't know. There's nothing else like to lead itself to that theory, but it just was interesting. Like, I just want to know why he's so passionate about making sure, because it seems like everyone else in their little group could give two shits about
Oh,
what's happening
100%.
with the mortals. And it just seems interesting that someone who's in a position of power seems to care when no one else does. That's really the only thing I had for this part.
To add on to that too, it was very interesting because, to your point, everyone else really doesn't care. We obviously get more when they go to the palace, that the women who are there, I'm guessing I think it was Luther's cousins, were super disgusted on the fact that she was even in there, and oh, you were allowed your weapons. And Luther has a soft spot for her immediately. There wasn't anything. I mean, she literally talks back to him back when she was saving Lily and all of the other kids. And just the fact that he allows it and kind of allows her to do the things kind of already had me hinting at, okay, there's definitely something going on here with these two that we're going to get more, and it's going to build as it goes. And I think I literally put like the sexual tension is super serious here because there's just something there in the fact that they're able to talk freely. But yeah, to your point, I was questioning is, does he not even fully agree with what the king was doing? Does he not agree with what his ancestors were doing in this world and wants to make a difference and go back to how I think it was supposed to be? Because when the 9 siblings kind of gave up their immortality and created the 9 realms and everything, I don't think their idea was just for the descended to be this dominating thing and the mortals to be, slaves or a lower class in a way, but that's unfortunately how greedy people have created, and that's what it went. So I'm really just questioning if he was more on the side with the Guardians as well, without doing any movements the Guardians are doing, but it did seem like he was kind of in that mindset, which was, I mean, well, I'm hoping we get more on what his actual reasoning there is, but that's kind of what I had originally on what he was doing.
I definitely think we'll get more of where he's coming from, and we'll need to get more of his backstory. And it's funny that you pointed out, like, oh, the sexual tension. I definitely picked up on, like, there's a dynamic here between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
But how do I want to say this? I don't feel like it was well executed on the page. I, as a reader, someone who has read a lot of books, reads a lot of romance, I was like, oh, he's very clearly being positioned as the love interest in this book because Henri's not it. Like, we know Henri is not it, and there's no other male that she's interacting with. Yeah. So that's where I, as a reader, taking my experience as a reader, was like, okay, he's gonna be the love interest. So I think I was reading into it. If I could take that all out, I don't think he is well established as a love interest in this book. And that is like a point that I had, like, just like overall, especially more towards the end when we get there, like when they finally have that moment where he kisses her, I felt very caught off guard. I felt like it was very abrupt because I just really don't think all their interactions has laid enough groundwork for them to have gotten to that point. So, like, yeah, I definitely picked up, like, oh, there's a weird banter here, but I don't feel like we know enough of, like, why he's so captivated by her. I definitely think we are going to get that in later books, but it was weird because, like, we just get the sense that, like, she does not like him. And then it was giving me, like, oh, when you're little and you pick on people that you like and that vibe. And I was like, oh, he definitely has a soft spot for her by letting her take the weapons in. But literally the first time they interact is the Lily thing. And I was like, what is making him trust her so much? I just felt like it was kind of abrupt. I don't know.
No,
I did not like it.
Yeah, and I think to your point, too, the fact that we've read so many books that we could see that he was going to be the love interest is probably why I read into it. The fact that, oh, yeah, this is what the buildup is going to be. And there were parts towards the end, too, that we can get into more of, with when she is injured after the explosion. He kind of said there was no one could basically remove me from her side and everything. And I think a lot of it is when she stopped taking the flame route, he kind of starts questioning who she is to him, because I think when Diem's in and out of consciousness, he basically starts saying, I think she is my, and then pretty much just ends because she knocks back out again. And I think a lot of it was, it's more on his side if he's feeling this. And I think for her, they do kind of mention of, oh, she has this little bit of feeling towards him. And then when she sees Henri, it's not the same. And I think that's the only
they
part.
can sense each other's magic too. Like she always talks about like there's like a weird energy coming from him.
Right. But I mean, it wasn't done enough that someone who has never read this type of book would understand that was happening. I mean, maybe I'm just assuming people wouldn't get it, but to your point, it just, for me, I knew it because, like you said, there was no more development with Henri that would have made it go that side.
I just feel like if there was like a third male in the story that she talked to a lot, it might not have been as clear that like Luther is supposed to be the love interest. Now I will say, again, jumping to the end, when she goes into a burning building, whatever, and she ends up going out of consciousness because she has that vision, he says to her like, oh, the vision, yeah, I had that too. And he says something like, this isn't our ending, maybe what if this is our beginning? And so I'm like, does he have visions? And so like he had visions of her before he met her. So then when he met her, he was like, oh, I know what's going to happen with her. She's important to me.
Yeah.
Again, though, we don't get that confirmation in book 1. So it felt a little awkward in this book for me. I do think I will be obsessed with them moving forward, though. Because I'm obsessed with him. I'm 100%. I'm fully in on him and the way he like moves through the book. But I just wanted more. Like I was like, could we have a little bit more? Could we have a flirty line thrown so like that kiss didn't feel so like what the fuck it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and to your point, I was all on board with him as soon as we find out that he is the brooding type, and you know, there's definitely more layers to him and everything that we're gonna get, and I was all for it. But yeah, I just was really hoping we had more of him, and when he wasn't there in many sections, I go, wait, where the hell did he go? What happened? I thought we were gonna have him pop up here.
They only interact like 4 times, I think, throughout the book.
Yeah, I think it's literally
not that much.
The saving Lily, the going to the palace, the
going back to
the palace,
and then the building,
the building and fire and palace there, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very...
When we get to the fire, he does have an iconic line, though, when we get to the fire part. So wait. I'll save that for there. But it's just funny, like, that you were like, the sexual tension. Like, I think it's because we, like, knew he was going to be set up as that we're reading into it. But I think, like, I try and, like, imagine, like, if I was experiencing this in real life, I'd be like, what the fuck is up with this guy? He's such an asshole to me.
And the only time that I think the only reason why I said, and maybe this is just my notes, but you know, when she has the guard pinned of I'm taking my weapons, you're not leaving me, you know, without any weapons and stuff like that. I don't know if he just immediately goes, yeah, she's a feisty little one. We're gonna keep her like this, and I could definitely handle her if we need to. But it was just I was looking for a little more. Give me something else, you know. Give me Zayden vibes where it's a little I hate you, but I could feel the tension. You know what I mean? And this was just I'm gonna hang back. And I'm
like I wanted more from them.
Yeah.
And then like when we get more later, I was like, whoa, we went 0 to 100. Like there was no gradual build. It was like the first 3 encounters were all the same. Just a little bit of her being like, I'm not listening to your rules. And then him just being like, okay. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, we're doing something completely. It was just like, I don't know, a little bit of whiplash, but
yeah, at least with Henri, as bad as it sounds, I'm going to give him a bonus. At least with him, we had that development of what was going on throughout the whole book. And I don't know if maybe that was more of the focus, was focusing on us hating him and wanting him gone from the story. I don't know if it was a nice transition of, all right, goodbye, Henri, hello, Luther. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a good point. I think it might be that.
I don't know. The only thing I did want to highlight on here, and kind of going back to Henri, was the madam at the brothel when Diem goes to help the women. She specifically says, don't choose a mediocre life for a mediocre man. Go be exceptional. If he's worth it, he won't judge you. And if he's really the one, he'll come along for the ride. Immediately go, this is literally, yes, exactly. And said, okay, Henri, bye-bye. We need you gone. This was, and we're not even far in. We're in 15. Toodaloo.
Kisses to my haters.
Yeah.
Bye. I loved her. I liked that scene.
Oh yeah, where's the guy?
And they fully killed him.
Oh yeah.
She was like,
because I forget what they called the row, that alley or whatever.
Paradise Row.
Yes, loved it. I go, these people are interesting. Bring me back here. I want more of this.
I highlighted that exact same line too.
Oh my god, it was giving what is it? The meat market in Crescent City or something? What was the one? The one that which is that type of the dark and interesting people. I was here for it.
Yeah.
I was here for it.
No, that was a good line, and I loved her. And I retweet what she said.
Oh yeah, I'm with her. All right, so I guess we can move on into the Guardians section, which I just have to pause right now. I literally just kept saying Guardians of the Galaxy the entire time, and I can't get past that. Okay, so that was it. I just had 80s music pumping through my head, and it was just that was
just waiting for Rocket and Groot.
Yeah, I was just waiting. I was really waiting. So in this basically is just Diem earning her spot with Guardians and going through, I would say, a test as well as the actual mission. And this was chapters 17 through 23. So I need your thoughts on the test that they put her through. Because I was ready to kill Henri and everyone else involved. Just saying. Just saying.
So the funny part is, like I said, I made a TikTok at like 30%. And I was like, I just need to say, like, I hate Henri. And I said, I have a feeling something bad is going to happen because of him. And I literally put text on the screen like, I hope this video ages well. I meant like through the series. And I was so happy when I was validated within the same book.
That literally made me so happy when you sent that, because I had finished the book at that time. I go, oh, this is going to age so well. At least for book 1. I go, I don't know how the rest of the series going, but right now, she's going to be happy.
And this just like was like, yes, I was right in hating him. So he tells her, okay, you have to go to this house. You're going to be a healer. Try and get like whatever information you can from this, whatever. I forget what level he was. But like he was like an important person. One of like the 20 families or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, whatever. Now, mind you, this is his best friend. He, I think, may have actually tried to propose to her before this, too.
Yeah.
So, like, you want to be this person's husband. This is going to be your wife. You didn't think to give her, like, hey, this is your test. No one really passes on the first time. Just try your best. Right. But, like, if you don't get anything, it's fine. I'm, like, thinking if me and you were in this, I'd be like, hey, Meg, so, like, this is the deal about the test. Like, don't worry about it.
Right.
Gives her nothing. She gets in there. She is risking her life.
She's even underneath know about the houses. Nothing. She has no information. You think they would have given her background info.
Oh, yeah, she knew nothing. She had to pretend she was a descendant. They're like, what house are you from? She's like, and then she got out of that so good. She, like, just started talking other questions. I was like, this is a girl who can yap. Yeah. But when she's underneath the desk and she's just in there, she's like, I'm going to be killed.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting outside. Gets out. I mean, she comes through hard. She brings, like, maps. She has customer charts. And he's like, wow, this is so much. She's like, what do you mean this is so much? And he's like, no one normally gets anything.
Yeah.
You let your best friend, person that you literally want to marry, go in, risk her life, didn't want to give her any insight, and then doesn't even tell her the truth about the fact that the Guardians poisoned the kid so that they would have to call a healer just set up this test for her.
That one bothered me so much. Because
and they saw nothing wrong with it.
Nothing. Oh, no, she was
And Henri
fine.
didn't either.
No, of just, oh no, it's totally okay. You know, we knew that she wasn't gonna ingest it or whatever. I think would actually.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, and then Diem's like, if it got mixed in with her food, she would have died.
Yeah, I don't know. That whole part was just completely annoying, and I don't even think she. Oh, I'm trying to think for a second. She doesn't confront him about that part specifically with the poisoning until later. Because she was more pissed off the fact that it was just a test. You weren't even supposed to get anything. And she's literally saying that she almost died in there. And there was no way that if she actually was in a life or death situation for her to call out to him. They had no little secret bird chirping stuff. Nothing. There was nothing. You just literally left her there to say, okay, I'm going to hang out by this telephone pole and let me know how things go. We'll see if you come out alive. Like,
yeah. And this was, you have to do this before you can even get in. Then I got more frustrated when she goes and they're kind of giving her shit. And then they weren't even gonna, they make Henri has to go in and speak on her behalf. and say what she found. I'm like, Henri did nothing to participate. So I will say in that situation, I really thought he was going to take credit for the papers that she got. So I was glad that he let her have that moment.
Agreed.
I would have jumped into that book and thrown hands with him.
Yeah.
But then they're going back. She's the only person who has done anything on the test. And they're saying, they're like, I don't know if we're going to let you in because of your dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, she more than proved herself. So that annoyed me too. It was like, she got all this stuff and then it still wasn't even a done deal. She had to sit there and prove and be like, I'm my own person. Yeah. Just because that's my dad doesn't mean that like I agree with everything he does and says and I have like his little puppet.
Right. It definitely felt very much a similar, you know, like any story that you get of, oh, well, this is your family, so we can't trust you. Of, okay, well, that's my family. That isn't me. I might agree with some things they do, or I might disagree with everything they do. That's par for the course. But yeah,
and it feels like there's very few women in this group.
Yeah, it definitely, and that's where it was interesting too with the woman leader. Because I think even DM says that there's really no women in there. I think it was just Lara, or Lara,
it's like
whatever.
A boys club. I hate it.
Yeah, because the only other woman I think she sees was that other healer that she works with that was in it. I said, well, what did she do to get in? Because it seems as if they have these massive tests. What else did they do?
Yeah, she's like the trainee that goes to the palace with them too. So
yeah.
Yeah, and then it was more frustrating too is then they took her stuff and they don't even fill her in on what they're going to do with all the information. But then also at that same meeting, she gets in and then they're going over like what the next thing is. And that's when we find out like the female leader is off on a mission. So the father's running it. Weird that we can't like talk about people's names, so everyone's just brother and father and whatever. Also the fact that Henri didn't tell her any of the secret words to get in places, which kind of bites her in the ass later. Right. It's like you're in this group but you don't even know how to get in to talk to anyone. But my hatred of Henri continued in this moment when they're talking about they need someone to find that boat in the palace, and he's like, this is all you, and she's like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
like I just got in. I think she was already annoyed by what had just gone down.
Well, and she also was trying to keep her brother's position in the school at that point too. She's trying to not fuck things up with the palace. She's got
other things going on.
Yeah,
and he just speaks for her. Oh, she'll do it. I was like, why don't you do it?
Right.
I didn't see him volunteering for shit.
Also, it's interesting too if they needed a healer in the palace and she is forbid from doing any of this because her mother, you think that they would have had that other healer go and it would have been her mission. I mean, granted, I know it's part of the story and it's in DM's perspective, blah blah blah, but you think that there's another healer, not just all of a sudden, yeah, you're the only healer here, you're gonna be the one who does this. There's literally another one here that could go with,
and especially because literally 5 minutes earlier they weren't even gonna let her in. So who did you already have lined up for this task? Let them do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That annoyed me when she literally says to him, like, I don't feel like I'm ready yet. And he was like, you just killed it on that. Like, yeah, you should go. And he just volunteers her.
Yeah. Another reason that he's just
she's in a weird position.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tough, too, because she mentions on many different occasions, and she ends up breaking the code of a healer that you're supposed to, you know, keep everyone, basically protect them and make sure that they're okay and everything, and she kind of goes against that of what she is doing with the guardians and everything. So it's just, I don't know, that I really think Henri was just trying to push her into his mold still, and this was another instance of that.
And then she ends up doing it and basically screws her position over as the palace healer because she's not able to do it because they all like know she goes running and all that, and she's trying to play it off.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't even get them the stuff that they wanted.
Yeah. It was, can I just
say, why did they need the boat? They didn't even tell her like why they needed this boat for a stowaway. Who's going on the boat?
Right. And also the amount of information they needed from her and the amount of steps that she had to take to get this information. How the hell did they think that this is going to be doable when you're trying to take care of the king who is under watch like crazy, and they think that, oh, this little healer gonna go be able to get this stuff with a 20-minute break? You can't, it's not even like she was pretending as if she had a stomach ache or something, you know what I mean? Or I'm super sick or nothing. It was just, oh, I forgot my bag.
She had to go so far down.
Right. It's not as if it was some secret door that was open that she could easily get stuff from. No, it literally was like a hike down to get to some. It made no sense to me. The amount there. It should have been 2 people, in my opinion. Just saying. It should have been a 2-person mission.
Her and the other healer tag team it?
Right. It should have been can one of you make a distraction while the other gets the information? That would have made more sense.
Yeah, and then I do think she's feisty, but she does have some people-pleasing tendencies.
100%.
In whatever role she's doing. And I just felt bad because then that does not go well.
Yeah.
And she has to tell them, and then she just feels like, oh, I let everyone down. I let Henri
Right.
And so then she kind of she guilts herself into telling them about that secret entrance into the back garden of the palace. And instantly when she does it, she's like, oh, I should not have done that.
Right. It immediately goes against her healer stuff and protecting people.
I wasn't even mad at her. I was mad at Henri for that. I'm like, you put her in this position because you signed her up for a mission she said she did not feel comfortable doing. Then she couldn't do it. Then she feels guilty that she couldn't complete it. So she feels like she has to give them another piece of information that she didn't want to do. She's now breaking that. It causes her to quit being a healer.
The domino was just so bad for that whole part. And I think it really just sets her off into the, what do I even want to do? She's completely
and again,
lost.
Like, he's literally proposing to her, wants to marry her. You're supposed to build your partner up, and like you just broke her down
horribly enough.
Honestly, I'm glad she basically only stuck with them for the one mission and has now left decides to leave them because I'm like, the 2 things you did, the test and the palace, they did not set you up for success. You were not equipped with the information you needed. The plan was not flushed out.
No.
You don't even know what they're using all this stuff for. Like, I'm glad that this moment, intelligent. I'm glad that she was able to kind of piece together that they were kind of sketchy.
Yeah, I thought there were going to be more missions for the Guardians in this book. In all honesty, I really did not think it was going to go that quickly, because when I started writing the notes, I go, oh wow, that was really only a couple chapters that she was with the Guardians at this point. I really thought it was going to be a huge chunk of the book, and that's where I had expected Luther to come in more. I mean, I know at this point when she is in the palace and she gets caught, but Luther is the one who catches her and basically says, don't betray my trust or you'll make the same mistake as your mother. And then also that she's playing a dangerous game. And I had a note in here too that when she is officially going into the wherever household or warehouse that they're hanging out for the Guardians, that there's a shadow presence that she feels behind her, and I 100% thought it was Luther and that he's finding out things, which is why I think that because
he does talk about the shadow magic with her,
right? And the fact that I really think that he is kind of aware of things, and this is where I think his tie comes in with Auralie.
Well, he knows that she was in it. He says it at the end.
Exactly. So it's as if they're not really well hiding themselves. And I think, honestly, I'm going to sound bad here, but they're kind of stupid as a group.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like you said, the fact that they set her up for failure and everything, they just really don't have the best thought process of how it should go. And I'm really thinking a lot of it has to do with Vance. Because if you think about it, whoever this woman was, they've been doing things for a while and there haven't been any suspicions. And then all of a sudden, Vance comes into play and things just don't go well at all. And they only have information because DM. Like, plain and simple. There's nothing else.
And it was frustrating because I totally understand the reasoning behind the cause. I get that. But they were not understanding when she was, especially Henri, when she was explaining to him, like, yeah, but you're doing the exact same thing that the people that you hate are doing. You're the opposite end of it.
Right, exactly.
And so she's like, so you're like, and I mean, if that is not just a parallel to real life that we live in, that's definitely a theme in the book. But it's just like, even in real life, that irritates me when it's just like, you both, yes, you feel very strongly about your causes. You're hating the other side when you're both doing at the root of it, you're doing the exact same thing.
Oh, yeah. It's just one thinks that they are doing the
you just have different thoughts.
Thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like, you're both extreme.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, like, neither of you are going to be successful because you're both extreme on either end, whether you think you're the good side or the bad side. Because the other side views you as the bad. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And she was trying to get that across, and Henri was not getting it. And I like that it's very obvious from the end of this book, like, she understands we need to be in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, they're not bad, and they're not bad. There are bad people amongst them.
Yeah.
But we can come together.
And that was the other thing, too, because it's not as if this rebel group had descended folks in it. Or at least we don't know. I mean, there could be, but it was very much just the mortals causing an issue.
Yeah,
and there wasn't anyone from either side that said we need to make a difference. You know what I mean? There wasn't any connection there, and I think Diem and Luther are going to be that connection, especially with the fact they have the vision of the battlefield and everything. I do think that they are the bridge that's going to bring the rebel
like
people
the
together.
united front.
Yeah, exactly. The people who maybe are too quiet to speak up about what they don't like, and they're okay with living in, you know, oblivious bliss over there and stuff like that. So that was, I mean, I guess we'll see, but yeah, it was interesting. The other piece that happens in here too was Henri officially asks her to marry him and basically stay at home, be a mom, and she pretty much is at this point not feeling it. She doesn't want to be.
She's like, I'll let you know. And then 3 weeks go by, she still hasn't answered him. Like, buddy, that's an answer in itself.
That's totally an answer. And then the fact that also she asks her dad how he knew that, you know, Auralie was the one for him and all of this stuff. And basically he goes into the sweet story of how they kind of were not on the same page at the same timeline all the time, but then realized, okay, this is it. We're actually going to do this thing. And it very much felt of a, yes, she got her answer in that there was no chance that Henri was this person for her. And I think she needed to come to terms with it, that other people also had whatever romance that they had. It was true romance when this was just, like you said, convenience. It wasn't anything there. So, I mean, we get confirmation, I think, from her that this isn't going to happen. But I think Henri's kind of oblivious to it.
At this point, and this will kind of like bridge us into the the last section, but her dad is really suspicious to me.
Oh my God, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about him. And when he's giving her that story about how they met, I was like, something seems off here. It was a nice story, but I'm like, seems abrupt again. If you look at the story, they really didn't spend that much time together. And then he's just like, oh, I decided to marry her because she was gone for a year and I didn't think she was coming back. And like when she did, I took it as a sign. But oh, she has this child. I knew I had to take care of the both of you. And I'm like, I think that him and Auralie maybe have some type of agreement or something, like he's trying to help her out. I don't know. I just feel like there's more there. It just seemed really suspicious. And then when we find out, which again, Henri just being a fucking asshole, she's telling him that she's leaving the Guardians. She's like, I'm not doing this and I'm not marrying you. And he basically is like, do you know your dad like you think you do? Because he's going back to the army. And she's like, no, he's not. He's like, yeah, he literally got the orders last week. He's leaving in a month, whatever. Yeah. And she confronts her dad about it. And he was like, oh, I was going to bring it up for discussion. I love that she stood her ground. And she was like, what discussion? You sent it back last week. Yeah. What are we going to discuss? Right. And he's like, well, they're not orders you can refuse. So I'm like, what do you got going on? No, this is when he also tells her he's basically working for the crown to help keep the peace. But I don't know. Something seems weird about like what his position is and why. I mean, this whole group of Guardians hates him because they see him as like he fought alongside the Descendant and he killed the mortals, which I get. But I feel like there has to be more there. Also, the fact that he likely knows where the mom is because he did not go looking for her. And she even points out like the language you used made it seem like she was going to walk through the front door. So it's like you let your daughter just be really distraught for 6 months. Yeah. You didn't think to clue her in like, hey, I can't tell you anything, but mom's coming back. Don't worry. I know. Or make up a lie. She's on a healing mission somewhere. Like, right. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about him.
Yeah, even, I mean, to your point about he could have made up a story of reason why. We find out that she literally has to obey whatever the crown says in terms of her, you know, contract with them, I'll say. He could have just put something there that the crown needed her on some mission and she had to go immediately. There was no chance for her to say goodbye or anything, instead of, you know, pretending and making these kids feel like their mom wasn't around. I mean, it's not that you're just hurting Diem in this thing. You're hurting Teller as well. He is obviously at a younger age, and, you know, I know he's more the level head of the group, but still the fact that, you know, his mother just pieced out. It's not like they have any information. I don't know. I've been super suspicious of him, of what does he know, to your point, and the fact that the Guardians really hate him. Did he do something that, where, you know, he claims that he does things for the crown and just, you can't say no to it, and just tries to keep the peace. But I'm really curious if he did something that was purely to get rid of certain mortals, and he is more on the descendant side, and that's why their family has been never impacted. Because Henri kind of mentions this, the fact that his mom was killed, and there are a bunch of other families, and, you know, Diem kind of lives in a sheltered world where nothing happens to her. And I think a lot, yes, it has to do with her mom and the fact that she has the connection with the crown, but it has to be with her dad too. He has too much suspiciousness going on with him to keep it that way.
Yeah, I agree. And then also in that same conversation with Henri, where he like drops that bomb about her dad, he starts telling her stories about things that are happening in other realms. And I think it's like the one with the S that her brother wants to go to.
Yep.
I want to call it like Sophos or something, but I have no clue.
I know, I keep thinking Sportos or Sorphos. Oh, it is Sophos. I just checked the notes. I'm way off. You were right.
Where her brother goes to this school specifically because he wants to be accepted into an academy at this realm, because it's where all these like really smart people go, and it's like it would be a way for him to get out, whatever. And Henry's like, oh, do you know what even happens there to the mortals? Like, yeah, they go there. Why do you think they never come back? Because they're doing research on them, and they get tortured and they get killed and all this stuff. So then she starts freaking out. Like, that's where my brother wants to go. Is this going to happen to my brother? He's going to be crushed, whatever. Do you believe it? I think it's propaganda that Henri was told.
I think so too. Part of me was questioning if maybe a little bit of it was true, in the sense of maybe they send certain mortals there to be tested on. Maybe. However, I don't think it's as accurate. I do think it's a little more to get people on the rebel side. Because if you think about it, at large, there have not, I don't even remember how many years it's been since all of this change has happened, but there haven't been huge rebel wars. You don't hear about a bunch that happen randomly, or they don't get told about certain things. So I think I'm more on your side of the fact that I think this is just things that they're spewing out to get people enraged and get them on their side for the cause of the war.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Henri talks about, like, her and Henri talk about it together, how like they've never left this area.
Yeah.
So he's never been there to confirm it. And I think, I just felt like it was propaganda, because why would the mom's really in with the crown? She would have known if there was these other things going on. The fact that she really wants her kid to go to this school to be able to go. Yeah, I just feel like she knows. I think the dad knows. They fought in these wars before. They know what's going on in the other areas. Why would they willingly send their kid to this school? Yeah. I don't know. This is, again, where Henri was just annoying me.
Agreed. Yeah, that is super suspicious. I didn't give too much thought at, but you know what? Now that I am, I'm going to keep my my eyes open for what's going to happen with that, because it did seem a little sus. That's
all I had on that little section. I know I kind of like bridged us into the last part, so
no, that's totally fine, because I think that actually sets up specifically getting all of the details is when Diem and her father are still chatting. The bomb goes off in Lumno City, where the Descended live, and basically Diem just rushes in to help. Healer, gonna go help, kind of par for the course.
And she knows instantly that they used that passageway that she told them.
Exactly. And she knows too that they used the information from when she stole it at that test, that they're able to basically get into the armory and completely knock down everything, basically. We find out obviously that she kind of goes in to try and help save. And
before that, she gets stopped by the Guardians.
I was just gonna say, why the hell did they stop her? I mean, granted,
they see her running and Henry's with them, and he was like, just don't go there. And they don't want her going to the city because they said they didn't want any mortals to be seen there and raise suspicion.
Okay, but can we just talk about the fact that she's been at the palace helping with the king, and you think that as a healer she's not going to go and help?
Yeah, which is exactly what she spews back at them. She's like, I'm the palace healer. I need to be there.
Right.
But that they're trying to stop her. But Henri joins in as the rest of them just basically circle around her, try to attack her. Mm-hmm. They rip her bag. They take all of her potions, all that, and he just stands by and lets them do it. And I'm like, you're again weak man. You love this person so much, why are you letting other people treat her like this? Continue to hate him. But then she gets away. But that's why when she gets to the house, she doesn't have any supplies because they took all of them.
Yeah, which it just infuriates me, the fact that and we find out more as we go forward that the Guardians are super upset with her that she ran in there, and he goes, I tried telling him that you were a healer and all of that stuff, and of course she's gonna go and help. What do you expect? Someone who literally has been trained her whole life to heal and to help the wounded to not go? You think it would have been totally fine to just say, okay, if you're seen, it's no big deal because you took your mom's position at the palace. I don't know. The whole thing, it just was very much you joined us. You're not going to do anything that you said you were doing beforehand. You have to, just let people die. And in her bones, that is not what she feels to do at all. And this was interesting, too, because she obviously goes in and saves the two men, but she specifically has to get Luther's attention, which this had me laughing of how she speaks to him is so entertaining, of the fact that she literally just to get his attention is just, screaming at him and everything of, you need to let me through. I need to go help these people. And even he was pretty hesitant on letting her go through. One, because it was dangerous, but I think two, he probably didn't want her to be anywhere in the vicinity on the off chance something ever happened, because he obviously knows that she's part of Guardians, which we find out later. But that was just, I had to call that out, is the way that she talks to him is so entertaining. And I just go, this could be really good if they keep up this banter going forward. I need it there.
And then this is where we get the iconic line. So she comes out, she's like unconscious. He needs to go get her help. And I think there's like people there. I can't even remember. Most like other guards or whatever. And he literally says, touch her and I'll rip off your fucking arms. Now, touch her and you'll die is one of my favorite tropes. Like, that is why I love a mafia romance, because of that. So first of all, for that to be thrown in this book, I was like, what's happening? And I loved it. But this is where I'm saying it felt really abrupt, because it's like, up to this point, he kind of like, he would tell her, the guards, like, just let her, like, I'm the whatever. I said, just let her go. But he was never like this direct about it, or like possessive over her. And then it was, so I was like, what the fuck is going on? But I think it has to do with that vision that she has right as she's coming out. And later when he says, we had the same vision, I think, like I said earlier, he must have been either having visions or things her mom maybe said to him about her.
Yeah.
He knows more about her, the purpose she's going to play in his life. So I think that's why he maybe didn't want her to go in. Like, he knows she has a bigger purpose. But oh my God, I loved that line.
Oh yeah. And then I have to go to another line that he said too, is when she's obviously at the palace being healed or whatever by his cousin. He literally says, Luna, I think I said it earlier, Luna's herself couldn't pull me from her side. And I literally said, this man is not going to let her leave his sight at all until she is conscious and ready to move out of here. It was totally no, I am overseeing everything that happens for her. I am not letting her die on my watch. And this is where we get the point of, I really thought that they are the fated mates, because that is a huge thing that we get a lot in fantasy books, is there is some mention of mates and everything, and I question if this is the first hint at that. The fact that they're able to see the same vision, the fact that their magic can, they can feel each other's magic. I said there are just so many things that are leading to that at that point.
Yeah,
and
I think it's going to be that
we
too.
Obviously don't get a lot of this, like you said, the fact that it kind of was whiplash of where the hell this come from. It's all off page because it's in his mind. It's not in DM's at all. she recognizes his smell and all of that stuff, and she can recognize his magic, but I would say 3/4 of this is all from his perspective on what's going on, that we only get now at this point of information what's happening.
Yeah, and he goes out of his way, takes her to the palace, gets her the healers. She stays the night. He puts her in his clothes.
Yeah.
And then they're outside, and he fully just goes for it. Kisses her, and she's like, oh my God, why are we doing this? And she's like, wait, those laws, we can't be seen. And he literally says to her, you think I fear my own death? Every day I draw breath is as much a curse as a gift. What the hell does that mean? What are you cursed with? So there's something going on. Like, I need more of his backstory. And he goes, I've been living on borrowed time for longer than you can imagine. I'm like, is he one of the OGs? I don't know, and didn't actually die. I'm like, what is going on with him? And he said, if you're the way my fate finally catches up to me, I can't fathom a more beautiful end. Like, he's obsessed.
I literally have the quote in here too. I go, what is going on that we are not getting?
Because, you have the same one?
Yeah, I have the same quote. I literally have his quote as well as the king's quote, which I'll get into in a second, of the
I didn't put that one. Yeah.
Of what happens with the king. But yeah, that was literally one of mine that he had, that I said, oh my God, what is this? What did he do? Is he making up for something? Is that why he cares so much about the mortals?
Honestly, this like whole interaction, even though it felt so abrupt to me, like I was like, what the hell? I'm not ready for this. I was not expecting it. This is why I need to read book 2, because like I need more lines from him. I need the POV from him. I need a flashback on him. I need more of him.
I was really
like hoping, I honestly, she is secondary to him in my mind.
Oh yeah, I was really hoping we had a
I was hoping it was gonna be like the epilogue or something.
The epilogue was from his perspective, or one of those where we get a little snippet instead of the epilogue. It's the chapter before that's just his POV, and then we get the epilogue. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I don't know. From him.
I really think I'm hoping book 2 gives us way more, because this, like I said, this last section was chapter 24 to 32 and the epilogue, and we get so much from him and the king. Because obviously the king is pretty much out of consciousness until he freaking wakes up and shit.
Next part.
But so much from the two of them. But the huge thing with the king was he literally is pretty much on deathbed. It's just
matter of time.
It's matter of time. And they keep giving him, I think, medicine to make him
keeping
relax.
him comfortable.
Yeah. And all of that stuff. So she pretty much starts realizing, okay, he's going to be dying pretty closely. Let me do the rite of passage saying, which they do for a lot of the folks who are close to dying and everything. Literally, he just wakes up. So I specifically have this in here because there's 2 different quotes that he says. The first one is, he says, I am not afraid, devourer of crowns, ravager of realms, herald of vengeance. So he says this to Diem, but it's his voice. Specifically.
Do you know what that whole quote reminded me of?
What?
It was giving me Aelin, Throne of Glass.
Yes.
I don't know. It just felt like something that would have been in that book.
I actually think Luther was kind of like Rowan, in the sense of Rowan knew more about their relationship, and I know that's not your favorite series, so I won't go too far into it, but it was very much giving that it was on his side, not on her perspective at all.
I agree with that point. The eye roll was because Rowan is one of my least favorite male main characters.
Yeah, I know.
They have a good love story in Throne of Glass. Okay, I'm going to stop now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't want this to be Aelin and Rowan. I want them to be like Xaden and Violet.
Agreed. I want them to be badass duo together, And
I did this because we're friends here, so.
Yes. We can hate different series. We can love different series.
Yeah, I don't think that they I don't know, that love story did not hit for me, but
no.
This one I think has potential, so
more potential for sure.
But I do think that is a really good point about the fated mate thing.
Yeah, because there's something here, and the fact that the king specifically says he's not afraid, he knows about this. This is where I was questioning that I maybe was doubting the fact that he was her father. And that there's some other power at be in Lumnos, or is supposed to be there, that should have the crown. That he took it from them. Because Luther mentions a lot of his upbringing, and that the king put a wedge in his family, took Luther under his wing, as well as Lily. And it's just, I think that he is, I don't want to say a phony, but he shouldn't be in this position, and there's someone else who should be in the position, which I think kind of is a little foreshadowing to the fact that DM ends up getting the crown and she is the queen at the end, with the fact that she allows the voice to take over, I guess, in a way, and that's her birthright. The second thing that the king says, and it says in a different voice, specifically a female, in an older voice, it says, "Give him our gift, daughter of the forgotten. When the end has come and the blood has spilled, give our gift to my faithful heir and tell him this is my command." Why do I think that is Luther?
And why does the voice why do I feel like the voice is the old woman from the beginning?
Right. So who is that woman?
I don't know.
Is it
so is Luther going to become but she becomes queen. So is then Luther going to become king?
I don't know. And is it, but with the fact that she's the powerful one, I mean, I guess he can be king because there probably was a queen in terms of the combo, the duo. Is
this going to be an arranged marriage?
I don't know.
That's how they're both going to get it.
Because they literally say, "Oh, you're going to be the next in line. There's no one else who has more power than you." And then she is.
Okay, let's talk about that. When you read that you have the crowns on your head, you're the queen, and then it ends right there.
Yeah.
Or it goes to the epilogue.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Were you surprised? What were your thoughts around it?
So I said, holy shit, because I did not expect the voice to make her queen. I expected it to be maybe she was able to go against Luther, that he was the king, but she had more power and could compete for that position. I don't know. I was, holy crap, this actually happened, but it wasn't as shocking of a I was more shocked at the voice, the fact that the voice was
how it came about.
Yeah, that she is the rightful heir. That's where I was confused. It was more, and that's why I wanted to read book 2. When you asked me, you said, "How interested are you in reading book 2?" I said, "I'm very much." I
felt bad because I was delaying you from reading book 2.
It's fine. I read something in between. It was okay.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised in the manner it came about. Yeah. I was not shocked that she became the queen, only because, again, they stressed so many times, it does not pass necessarily into who your kin is or down your family line. The power chooses who they think is the most powerful,
right? And
so it could go to anyone. They just assumed it was going to go to Luther, and I was like, okay, clearly she's being set up for a way to get it, and then she's like, oh yeah, I really wasn't mortal this whole time. So I wasn't shocked by her, which is kind of annoying because I think it was supposed to be a big twist. I just felt it was obvious. Yeah. I think that just comes with having read a lot of these books, though. But I agree. The voice kind of taking over. And I still think Luther's going to be important.
He has to be important. I mean, just the fact that, what is his gift? And tell him this is my command. What does he have to do? Who is his heir? Because, like I said, I think it's Luther, but what do they have to do?
Also, this sucks for the Guardians because she's going to move into the palace.
100%.
And she knows everyone who's in there.
Yeah. And the other interesting part is I don't know how this changes the power dynamic, because everyone, like you said, obviously expects that Luther was going to take over and that he is prince and Lily is the princess. Do they stay that way and she just takes over and they have to fall in line?
I really have a feeling that Luther knew this was coming.
I think so. The fact that he was so attached to her.
And he says to her, oh, so this is the last time I'm going to see you.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I'm not a healer anymore. And he was like, okay. Or maybe this is the beginning of something else. And he's talking about we think he's alluding to the vision, but maybe he had a vision that she was going to be the queen and they were going to have to work together on something.
That's a really good point. I did not think
I think he knew.
And the fact that he kind of said, oh yeah, well, I guess it comes to me, in terms of, she was very much pushing that you're going to be the next king and everything. And he kind of
he seemed a little reluctant to say anything.
All right. I'm taking all this.
I think he knows.
Yeah. And
I think he'll be supportive.
Yeah. I think so too. I think he will be what the woman at the brothel said, that, no mediocre man. If he's good enough, he will stay. And I think that is who Luther is going to be.
Yeah. Okay, we have to talk epilogue.
Yes.
Now, I also had a feeling I did not think the mom was dead at all. I knew she was somewhere else.
Nope.
But I'm confused where she is. She's hiding out in the middle of nowhere. It feels like she can only creep around at night because she can't be seen during the day.
Yeah.
She's counting the days with like chalk. And this is the second time she's been brought to this location. She said she learned her mistake, and that's why she's counting the days.
Yeah.
Second time in 20 years, which means she had to have been there before Diem was born.
That's what I'm thinking,
like
too.
right before she was born.
Yeah.
It's like, where the hell is she? What is she doing? She knew she had to wait for a certain time to be able to go back, and it seems tied to the king's death.
Yeah, and this is where I was trying to figure out, it seemed like she killed someone in the past. And that's where I was questioning, was it Diem's real father that she killed, or did she think she killed him and he actually didn't die and something's gonna happen? I don't know, because I was trying to figure out what the purpose of her being somewhere else was.
Like, I'm so confused by that whole thing.
I don't know. Did they have someone chained up and we're just... Because did she say that, oh, if I stayed on the 12th step, I was fine, because if I went any farther, issues would happen? I was questioning,
I missed
what
all
kind
of
of
this
chain thing do you have down here that if you go one step further, they can reach you? I don't know. It was really weird. And
I pictured, maybe I read that really wrong. I pictured her like literally just like on a like like a kind of like how the ring was in Rebel Witch, like how I felt like it was like Stonehenge almost, like a just stone area with like walls around her or something, and she's just there. I thought she was just like in an open area.
Oh my god, I thought she went into a basement.
So I totally missed
house.
this whole like chained up thing.
Yeah.
No, you're probably right. At that point I was just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I'm very confused. But she says like, I'm going home. And so is she evil? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is she evil?
I don't know. And it was interesting too, because she's definitely still in Luno's area because she feels the king's energy go away and he dies. And the reason why I think she's still in that area, and it brings back to the Fortos trip, is when Diem goes out of Lunos and goes into Fortos, she gets a pain in her and she doesn't understand what it is, and Henri doesn't have it. And this is where I had hinted that she was probably a descendant as well, is I think that because their magic only works in their home realm. So that's where I question that she's still in the area. She must have just been on the outskirts or something and didn't want people to find her, because obviously people must be looking for I don't know. So she had to be in an area that she could still feel his presence, because if not, if she was in East Guam, she wouldn't have felt it at that point. She would have been somewhere completely different. But
I don't know.
There were so many unknowns.
And I don't have any thoughts of what's going to happen in book 2, except for like, well, I think we'll get more of her in Luther. I think it'll be like a weird dynamic between her and Henri now. I don't know how her dad is going to take the fact that she's now the queen. Like, I'm very confused.
Well, I hope this kicks her out.
Also, I also hope though that somehow in all of this there is a path for Teller and Lily to be together, because I love Teller. We did not talk about him on this episode, but like, he was great. He's a good side character. There wasn't a lot that he was doing, but like, I just liked him.
Yeah, and I love the fact that even when Diem runs into Lily, when she's kind of just checking in on people and healing everyone, that, you know, she invites Lily over for dinner of just, oh, you're welcome. Any friend of Teller's is welcome. And, you know, even Lily knows that if she was to ever pursue something with Teller, any heir that would be born couldn't actually live. And she seems super upset about this, the fact that she does see a future with him too. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, both really good side characters that I want more from, just because I want to see their story, and I, you know, just from afar, I'm okay with getting it that way. And but I don't know, I'm curious who we're gonna get more of, who we're not gonna get more of, because we only have maybe 10 characters that we're really focusing on. It's kept it pretty small, so I like that. You know, it's manageable.
Yeah, it's just funny because like when we read Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, whatever, like we always had theories for the next book, but like I genuinely have no clue where this is gonna go. I'm just assuming it's going to be awkward figuring out the new dynamics of her as the queen. Like, does she just go walk up to the palace right after this just happened.
Right.
Awkward because she knows who the Guardians are, and I'm sure that they're going to try and recruit her again to be on their side.
Yeah.
I think she's going to get put in a weird position with Henri.
Yeah, I think so, because at that point,
I think we're going to get hopefully a spicy scene between her and Luther, because this one was feeling YA.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we get something. Escalate
right?
it.
Yeah, I mean, it is an adult fantasy, so.
I mean, this was the spark, the next one's the glow, so I'm hoping it really, we emphasize.
Oh, you know the glow we're talking about.
We're going.
You know the glow we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I liked this one a lot. Like,
Yeah.
there was, like, it wasn't a lot that happened. Like, it was a
No.
lot of build-up,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think it's, sometimes I prefer when they're, like, a little slower.
Yeah.
Slow and steady, and we get there. Like, it's not like just throwing a bunch of things and then
Right.
the plots go really random directions.
Yeah, there were small pieces. Like you said, there weren't any huge things that happened. It was smaller things that I think will really set up well, or I hope will set up really well for the rest of the series. But I hear great things about the rest of the series, so my only assumption is that they did something right, and that we are really going to get ramped up and want to keep going and fly through the next two, is what I'm hoping.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope it's one of those series for me that I just get so excited for it. So
yeah, well, I guess drum roll, Meg can outro us and give us our next episode book.
yeah, so ooh, shocker, our next episode is going to be covering Glow of the Everflame, because we're so freaking obsessed with this. We need to find out more. So basically anything to do with that, stay tuned. We'll have more information so we can kind of talk about this one as well as the second book and have more information there. But anything else, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Booktroverts Pod. Follow us on Fable as well, and you can read along with us, and looking forward to hear your thoughts. Bye everyone.
Bye.